Hi, I'm Patsy Spencer and I'm part of the Swoon Patterns group on Facebook, and earlier this week I posted a picture of all the corded piping that I've been making since I was waiting for my hardware to come in, and people asked if there was a tutorial or a video, and I've never done a video before, so I thought that this might be a good opportunity to jump into this. And what I do is I take a fat quarter or something similar. You don't have to have a specific fat quarter, but this is just an example to make it manageable for the demonstration. And a fat quarter makes about a little over 4 yards if you make a 2-inch wide bias strip. So I like to make 2-inch wide bias strip because it gives me a good fudge factor in case I use a different size cording. So what you do is you want to start off by laying the fabric in front of you with the longest side facing you, closest to you, shorter sides left and right. So this is about 21 by 16, so the 21 is here and 16 is here. And it's a rectangle, so what you're going to do is take this top left corner, bring it down to where that corner you just grabbed is parallel to this bottom longest line. So you've got a triangle here, and then there's a little bit extra over here. So what I'll do now is take it over to the iron, press that seam. So now you've got a good line to cut with. Some people will want to use a rotary cutter. I prefer to just use a pair of scissors. However's most comfortable for you. I'll lay my hand down, put the scissors in between the fabrics, and you're going to cut all the way to the end. So you're going to have two pieces. You're going to have that triangle, and then the piece that's a little bit bigger than a triangle. So here's the original piece once you folded it, and I'll put it back together like it was. So here's your cut. What you're going to do is make a parallelogram. So all you're going to do is take your triangle piece and walk it across the top of the fabric and line up the straight edges. So you've got two pieces. These are your bias edges. Here are your straight edges on grain. And then you're going to sew this together. So you're going to just lay this on top of one another. Line up the straight edges. Remember, your bias are here. You're going to do about a 1/4 inch seam along here, and I would suggest maybe a 1.5 stitch length. I tried one and the machine ate it. So I'm going to go make this stitch length, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, so now we've gone through and made the 1/4 inch seam and about a 1.5 stitch length, and you're going to open it up and you're going to press this seam open. And when I first learned to do this, I was trying to guesstimate like a 2-inch wide bias strip. That was not good for me, and my next door neighbor suggested, why don't you just mark off your 2-inch pieces before you sew this tube together. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. So I've done that, and it's worked really well for me. So what you're going to do is take a quilting ruler, and you can make your bias strips as wide or as narrow as you want. I'm just choosing 2 inches because it gives me a lot of room. Fudge factor is what I call it, where I can, work with it. If the cording is a little bit wider than the one that Alicia recommends we use as we're making our piping, our cording, so you want to go, and whatever kind of ruler you use, just be sure that your bias pieces are uniform, pick one width and just use that the whole time. I'm using a wax or a chalk marking pencil that I've got them in a lot of different colors. I think this dark green and white will make it easier for you to see. And we're almost done with this. Sometimes the parallelogram comes out to exactly 2-inch widths, and then sometimes you have to cut off a little bit of an edge. I don't ever leave that little edge on there if it's not the same width as the others. Makes it too complicated at the end, and I'm all about simplifying it. So this one will have a little bit left over. And what we'll do is take the rotary cutter, while you've got it down with your quilting ruler or whatever kind of ruler you prefer to use, and just slice off that little bit. So this is what your piece looks like. Here are your bias edges, and here are your straight edges. And what you're going to do is find one of these points. Go to one of these points. Okay, let's just come up here, and you're going to cut in about 2 or 3 inches into either the upper right or bottom left corner. And again, it's on the bias. This is your bias. This is where it gets kind of complicated, and it took me so many times to figure out exactly how to do this. Only because I kept trying to make the tube differently. I never could make sense of it, and it just took a lot of practice. But what you want to do is you're going to match your straight edges, not your bias edges, but your straight edges. You're going to leave this tail off to the right. Take this upper right hand corner, bring it down towards the bottom, then you're going to twist this, pull this, take both hands, pull it down towards this bottom, and pull to the left a little bit. Remember, you're going to leave this part hanging off. You're going to take this next little point that's still left, and you're going to straighten out your bottom edge here, and this little point is going to hang over just about 1/4 inch. Again, doesn't have to be perfect, but if you get close, that's what we're looking for, is for you to get close. Where are my pins? And you're going to pin this. Now, your first pin, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. What you're going to look for as you open up are these marks that you made. And sometimes it's just for demonstration purposes, I'll make the marks a little bit darker. So you've got your starting point here. Remember, this is the little part that you cut away. This is right sides together, remember that. And the marked sides are facing each other with the lines. You're going to look inside here, and you're going to see these little marks that you made. Now, when you fold it back, one edge back, you're going to see that the marks will make a straight line at an angle. If you put them back together and hold this up to the light, you should be able to see those lines cross, because they're going to make an X about 1/4 inch from the top here. And all you're going to do is just pin as you go. Again, your marks are going to be a lot better. You're going to be able to see them a lot better in your sewing area than you are in here. Because sometimes when you get to the edge of the piece, and with all this handling, the marks kind of disappear a little bit. But again, if you put the marks close to each other, they're going to make a line at an angle. Fold that back up onto itself, right sides together. And if you hold it up to the light, you'll probably be able to see where they cross over. You can stretch this a little bit so those lines get closer together, or cross about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. And then this is a wonky looking tube. So it doesn't, when you hold the seam up like this, it looks nothing like a tube. If you were to lay it flat, yes, more like a tube. So now I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew this, and I'll be right back. Again, 1/4 of an inch with about a 1.5 stitch length. Okay, I went over to the sewing machine, sewed that seam up, and I came back over to the pressing area and pressed the seam open. What I use is a sleeve board, I think that's what it's called, just to press it open. Makes it a lot easier. And now what you're going to do is you're just going to turn the tube inside out, and here are all of your cutting lines. And you're going to see that where you just made the seam, the lines sometimes don't join, but all you're going to do is blend them in. Because again, I made this bias wider than I need. That way it gives me a little bit of room to work with. So you start with that little tail that you cut in the beginning, like 2 or 3 inches, and you just follow your cutting line all the way around. I'm not going to do this whole thing, but I just want to give you an idea of when you get to that area where the lines don't match up exactly, that all you have to do is blend the lines together. So I'm coming up on a space where the lines don't match exactly, but all I'm going to do is angle up, blend the lines in, and it's approximately 2 inches. So you're just going to keep cutting your tube, and it's going to end up being a little bit more than 4 yards of bias tape, and then you can make your corded piping for your swoon bags. Now what I did, or what I also do, since I do make the bias a little bit wider than I need, a few years ago, took some classes from Pam Demore. I think she's up in New York. But there's this little, looks like a ruler, but it has a channel in the bottom of it. It's just like your foot that you use to make your piping, if you've got that, where it's got a little channel in it and the cording stays under that channel. The same thing, the same concept here. So what I do is I'll take my rotary cutter, and it's got 2 channels. One's really narrow for really thin cord. Here's one that I use for the cording, the piping that I'm making. And all I do is this cord that I've already sewn, this is the one I made earlier. Whoops. The wider channel will be on the right. Lay it on top of the cording, and then you've got your excess over here to the right, because Alicia in the videos talks about the cording or piping that you use for the bags, and it usually has a 1/2 inch flange on it. So this way, this gives me a really neat 1/2 inch flange, and I just take this and run it all along the cord until I'm done, and it gives you a real clean 1/2 inch flange that you can work with to match up on the sides of your bag. Okay? I I hope that was helpful, and happy swooning.